Let's talk about the GOP shuffle. I think you coined that when we were tossing back and forth ideas. You coined it. I think I liked it. So I'm like, yeah, we're gonna call it the GOP shuffle. Obviously, or maybe not obviously, we're talking about Rona McDaniel out as RNC chair. She is done as of what is it, the 8th? I think she's like officially out on the 8th. Is that right?
Yeah, she basically gave her 2-week notice and said, I'm out. There's her, she is the RNC chair, but there's also I think it's there's 3 Republican House members who are committee members, not just your run-of-the-mill, House members, but some committee members, high influence committee members who are also choosing to not run for re-election. So in a presidential election year, you've got the RNC chair and some, influential folks within the party who are choosing to step away. To me, Elsa, and I'll be interested in, what you think, but that's an indicator of the, division within the party. Right.
Yes.
I mean, that's the first thing, but is there a deeper problem, do you think, than just, hey, we think things are going in different directions, or is there something bigger than that? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know either. I do think the party has some significant, issues. I mean, a serious identity crisis, I think, with that, because of that division. You have your old school, and I don't even know if they're old school. I don't even know if that's even fair to say. You have your, people call them rhinos. And, I don't know enough to know if that's fair to say, but that certainly seems to be this dividing line. You're either a rhino or you're like a grassroots or a, Republican. And it's usually the younger ones that have all this spitfire and it's a problem overall, because we can't be a divided front. We just can't be. And that's exactly what we are. So, whatever the cause, whoever's right, whoever's wrong, it's a bad look. It's just really bad optics, and it's bad for getting anything done.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. It's not as clear. I think it probably is about an 80 to 85, maybe 90%, like Trump Republican, non-Trump Republican divide, right? So you've got the MAGA crowd and then the non-MAGA crowd, whatever you want to call it, Trump supporters versus the non. But I think there's some bleed over there too. I think there are some Trump supporters who are just not kind of in line with the way things are going. I don't know if it's, I think some of the younger ones, or some of the ones that are choosing not to run again, are just tired of the crap that goes on in the House.
Sure.
I think, the bureau, they are elected government officials, and bureaucracy is the name of the game. But I think they're even getting tired of that, of the slow moving, progression. And not progressive, but progression. There's no progress being made. And I think it's wearing on people. I think it's wearing on even the elected officials who are there. So
yeah, you got to imagine that you're going in, whether, I'm saying, when I say young, I don't necessarily mean age-wise young. I mean, new and fresh coming into the political, game, essentially. And you have these great ideas, and you have all this energy, and you in your heart and intellectually how things should be going, and you hit brick walls everywhere you turn. So I agree. I think it's very disillusioning and incredibly frustrating. And the payoff for all of this blood, sweat, and tears that you put in, it's not worth it. It becomes not worth it. And I think you're probably right. I think that certainly plays a factor in the walk away, essentially.
Yeah. And so what I think is interesting too, is that we always talk about on the blue side of the aisle, the squad, which is like its own little, organization wing of the Democratic Party. It's, ultra crazy, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, there's like a self-contained clique.
Yes.
You don't see anything like that, at least not that I've seen or that I'm aware of, within the Republican Party. So where you've got the that crowd within the Democratic Party, and we all know that crowd says some pretty outlandish, outrageous, bordering on stupid things that come out of their mouths, and they all cheer each other on, right? So, you can go back and look at their voting records, and every one of them, their voting record is atrocious. Like the things that they put forward and the things that they vote for never pass. But they all kind of, pull each other up and cheer each other on, and they stand behind each other.
Yeah.
So, which is why none of them leave. Like nobody from the squad has been, not reelected. None of them have quit. None of them have walked away yet. But on the Republican side, you don't seem to have that camaraderie, even in the younger, great explanation, by the way, younger, newer Republicans. They're newer politicians that are at the federal level. So there's no support structure, it seems, at least to the outside eye, where they are kind of propping each other up and taking care of each other and, that kind of thing. I mean, you do have guys like Dan Crenshaw, and I know I talk about him quite, somewhat often on here, but he is very, he's pretty social media savvy. He does, he gets out there, he puts his name and his voice out there a lot, but he's also standing by himself most of the time. Like, I don't see him with his arm around 2 or 3 or 4 other Republicans palling around together like the squad does. So while he's a strong individual and a strong personality, I don't see him dragging anybody forward with him, to kind of keep things moving forward. They all seem to be on their own path and their own trajectory. And the only thing they have in common is the R, right?
Yeah. That's actually a really good observation. I had not even thought of that. And that's really, really true. Do you think it is as simple as that? It's like there's this every man for himself mentality, that they're so busy trying to make a name for themselves and be the guy, that they can't get that united front the way that the squad has done? Because that's really a shame, because that probably is really great optics for the party to have that. If they're not doing stupid things, they can't be doing stupid things. That's, there's the catch.
Yeah, I think, the faces of the Republican Party haven't changed for so very much like the Democrats. Don't get me wrong. I mean, both sides have some really old people that just need to go away, right? But the Mitt Romneys of the world, like that, those guys, those folks, the older crowd, I will say they do need to get out of the way. I'm a big fan of term limits. I think that the career politician thing is garbage. I think that shouldn't be allowed. But at the same time, I almost wonder if on the Republican side, there's this like, do I side on the MAGA side? Do I side on the traditional side? Where do I sit? I don't want to piss off too many people because, if Trump doesn't get back in office, then I still have to deal with all of the old heads. And so I think they're kind of in they're in a tough spot, but at the same time, you got to have a little bit of courage and a little bit of intestinal fortitude to kind of, strive through it and get on a committee and, vote your feeling or vote your constituency. Crazy idea. But really, I find a battle buddy, in the halls somewhere and stick with them and be like, hey, look, it's, me and you got elected together, or, and it's me and you for the next few, for this term, and then we'll figure it out again. But I'm with you and you're with me, and let's hook each other up and take care of each other. I just don't see that on the red side of the aisle. It's very, there's a stark difference, I think, between the two.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's very true. And I think you're probably right that, a huge part of that is the Trump factor. Where do they want to stand on this, in the short term and the long term? And the only thing that's, really consistently true, no matter what they do, people, we, the voters, we have long memories, and if you play that wishy-washy game, if you're right now saying never Trump until he gets elected, and then suddenly you love him, we're going to remember it, and we're going to pull up those clips and those tweets and those things. Or do they still call them tweets? We're calling them tweets. I don't know.
They do still call them tweets. Yes,
right. It's never going to stop.
No, nope. But yeah, the internet is undefeated. That stuff never goes away. And yeah, you'll never live it down if you choose to
Right.
be although, there is some forgiveness out there, right? I mean, there's talk of Ron DeSantis being the vice presidential candidate, right?
Yeah.
Who was as anti-Trump as anti-Trump gets.
Right.
So, but again, it's almost like the blessing from the Pope. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. If the big boss says, you're good, then you're good. But like,
Right.
Nikki Haley has chosen to fight to the end.
Yeah.
I don't think she's going to make it through Super Tuesday.
I can't imagine. Didn't she just lose like her biggest donors?
She did. There's that, but she's the one who is going to be the ultimate casualty in all of this because her career, especially if President Trump gets reelected, her political career is over with. Now, if he loses, there is potential for resurrection. She can come out like a phoenix and everything could be okay. But if he wins and she is not on board, and I know she's going to do the obligatory endorsement when she bows out, because she'll bow out and then she'll endorse because she's on board with the party. But if she doesn't bow out gracefully and he gets elected, she's done. Right.
Yeah.
And all these young Congress people that we're talking about are watching this, and they're watching this all play out. And they know that if they're on the wrong side of this, when the music stops, they're going to be standing there without a chair. And that's what none of them want. Right. Because what does every first term politician want? A second term. So they're all paying attention. And I think right now they're all in a freeze, and they're not forming any alliances because they don't know which side to play.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it from both perspectives, on one hand, I could say, well, I totally get that. This is your career, this is your livelihood, this is your existence, and what you decide to do, that can be paralyzing, and I get that. But the flip side of that is kind of like I think you said, just stand on something, stand somewhere, don't stand on the line, pick a side, pick a spot, own it, and, get the respect for being firm in your decision. But we're talking about politicians. So that's such a silly statement when we're talking about politicians. They're,
with the exception, and we'll roll right into our next topic.